So if you didn't see or listen to last week's episode, that was the part one. I mean, you'll see it in the title too. This is part two to the episode I recorded with Anuj and Chase. So, um, yeah, here it is. And again, if you haven't listened to the first one, you can go back and listen, or you can just start here because there's different topics and stuff. So, here you go.
But yeah, we just went from like corporatism to AI.
We've touched on football and neuroscience. Which one are we going to next?
Well, we did talk about the corporate cultures and the cultures not being so damn good. Speaking of the culture being damn good,
Yes.
Dan Snyder's finally gone, and maybe they'll actually rebuild, but until you realize they traded Chase Young and Montez Sweat, and Sam Howell probably looks like garbage.
Da 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 da. It's football time.
Yes, it is.
And the commandants or whatever, like they had the Red Wolves just available and they never did. They ended up with the fucking Commander. They were the football team for what, 2 years? Or was
I thought
it
it was just one?
I don't fucking remember. WFT for a couple years with a big W, except they took L after L after L.
They did.
Okay. So, I don't know, dude. I'm looking at like, is there like we know the poverty franchises in the NFL, right? The Browns that have somehow, they came back from poverty only to shackle themselves to a rapist. You've got
managed Baker Mayfield.
Oh, easily. You've got fucking, the Jaguars who briefly are relevant every now and then and suck ass the rest of the time and look like they're coasting. You've got the Jets, right, who are just perpetually garbage. Oof. You got your poverty franchises, and ever since like the early 2000s, the Commanders, right, like they have to be one of the fucking like poverty franchises, right? Like the best quarterback they've had in decades is Kirk Cousins, and they let him walk because, I'm not going to pay you money when he was cheap. He walked around the earth and got, fucking paid in Minnesota and Atlanta.
You like that?
I like that, yes. Compared to fucking Desmond Ritter, God almighty Christ, I'd rather gouge my eyeballs out and resurrect Matt Ryan's corpse and fucking attempt to throw him more than dollars, Jesus. No, but Washington's, like, they're fucked, right? Like, they're going to attempt to draft the second best QB in the draft or something. They hired goddamn Dan Quinn as their head coach, which is literally just begging to be fired in 3 years. Like, he is responsible in a way for 28-3. Like, anybody associated with that is fucked, right? Nobody survived that. That was your first warning.
Kyle Shanahan still hasn't kicked his choking habit.
I don't know. That dude just turbo cursed in the Super Bowl. 0-3. Anyway. So the point is, Washington, like they are just low-key basement dwelling franchise, and they're going nowhere. New ownership, new management. They hired Dan Quinn to not have a defense and to hire to draft a QB. And it's going to be like Drake May or something. He's going to suck probably. And they're going to be shit. And they're going to be shit for 3 more years and fire Dan Quinn. And then like, oh God, our quarterback busted. And they're fucked.
Drake May, you say, huh? Wouldn't be the first time.
I don't know, dude. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I don't know what their plan is. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. Whatever. So that's Washington. And as for Kirk in Atlanta, yes, please, provided his Achilles is, I don't know, medical science is a little bit better, which means it's, still dog shit, but not terrible anymore. Doesn't make any sense.
If you're the Falcons, though, would you take, like, a guy like Michael Penix or,
fuck no.
Bo Nix later in the second round?
Hell no. You were in win now mode right now. You were in win now mode last year.
You say that, and yet we had Arthur Smith as our head coach.
Yeah. I mean, the roster is built to win now, and now that you got premium quarterback and receiver combo in free agency to add to your receiving core, you had a fucking top 10 defense last year magically, although it probably isn't going to be top 10 again, knowing the Falcons.
Brian Nielsen's gone.
Yeah, I know, right? So you are kind of fucked if that regress. But what I'm saying is you can win now with that core, right? Kirk's going to be, 36? Like, this is a team that is in win now mode right now. You don't waste a pick on a quarterback. You either win games, win a Super Bowl, LOL, or you blow it up, right? So they're in win now mode. They will be trying to do free agency and probably just draft the best player available, fill in holes.
You think if we don't do anything this year, we're gonna start declining Kyle Pitts and Drake London and Bijan Robinson's 50-year options?
I'll be honest with you, I would. If you don't win now with Kirk in the next year or two, don't pay those players, blow it up and move on. Because the thing is, like, you get in this thing where you have this like top 10 talent at a position that's not quarterback, so you're overpaying for non-elite play, and that's how you get stuck in purgatory. Is you accumulate a whole bunch of really shitty assets and deals like that, and you eventually fuck it up, and your quarterback is Desmond Ridder or an aging veteran, and you have no shot. So once the quarterback is done, right, and either he's cooked from age or is garbage, you have to move on, or you have to blow it up and try again.
So do you go quarterback this year at
Hell
any
no.
point in the draft? At any point?
Fuck no. If Kirk gets injured, the season's over anyway. Tank for a higher pick.
I mean, it's not like we're not going to be chucking Desmond Ridder out there if that happens, right?
Or probably keeping Desmond as a backup, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So,
Which could be a blessing in disguise.
No,
it could
Desmond.
be, if he actually learns behind the.
No, he sucks. He is terrible. He's had 2 years to not look garbage. He's ass. He's not getting better.
But also, he had Arthur Smith.
I don't know. I have mixed opinions on Arthur Smith. I don't think he was great. I don't think he was terrible. I thought, honestly, he was better than Dan Quinn for most of his tenure.
Yeah, if you call 7 and 10 3 straight years better than Dan Quinn.
Yeah, but with like 1 year of Matt Ryan with no roster and 2 years of fucking Desmond Ridder and
Marcus Mariota.
Fucking Marcus Mariota, yeah. He's never had he's never had like top 10 quarterback play. I'm not gonna sit here and say he's gonna do anything with it because his play calling was not good enough, but I'm just saying that Arthur Smith was not like the worst thing to happen to Atlanta, which is not a popular opinion.
And it's like we probably wish for Matt Ryan now.
Oh yeah, younger Matt Ryan,
no,
give me please.
Matt.
Jesus Christ. Old Matt Ryan's gone.
Is Matt Ryan a Hall of Famer?
I would say no. I would say him, Phillip Rivers, and Eli Manning are not Hall of Famers. But since Eli Manning is going to be a Hall of Famer, then Phil and him should be a Hall of Famer.
I mean, I get Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers being a Hall of Famer, but Eli Manning has 2 rings.
He has 2 rings, one of which he actually earned, and the other he was carried by his defense to a Super Bowl. And the rest of his career he sucked. Like the problem is he beat Tom Brady twice and has Manning as his last name. He's a stone cold first round lock for the Hall of Fame. But the problem is Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers were objectively better quarterbacks their entire career, and they will probably not get in the Hall of Fame for like, I don't know, at least a decade. They're not even close to first ballot Hall of Famers. And you could make the argument Matt Ryan if he actually won that Super Bowl, right? Or if his defense won the Super Bowl.
You mean also if Kyle Shanahan wasn't a fucking idiot?
Calls a run play or two on the fucking, I don't know. If coulda, woulda, shoulda,
or
but
short
if he has
pass.
a ring, right? If he gets a ring, he's probably a Hall of Famer, but like down the line. And then like I don't know about Phillip Rivers. I think Phillip Rivers is probably fucked. But then again, it's like you have other mediocrity at quarterback in the Hall of Fame just because they were old. Like there's
Such
like
as?
I think like was it? I don't remember, like one of the Bengals quarterbacks who had like one good season took him to a Super Bowl and then got fucked up by the Niners. I think it was it Stabler or Anderson? I don't remember. No, it's a different guy, but he was like trash most of his, or not trash. He was like good enough most of his career, never elite, but for
He's
a year
a Bengals
or two.
quarterback, you said?
Yeah, who's this guy? I don't remember. God, we are live fucking looking up quarterbacks.
Damn right we are.
On the fucking podcast. This is the content that we've just devolved into here.
He's like, damn right.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was Ken Anderson, right? There we go. So, he was, so he has an MVP, he had an OY, comeback player of the year, he had one good year, right? He was All-Pro once, second team All-Pro, so he was All-Pro twice. Okay, fair enough. So that's like worse than Matt Ryan, right? And he's in the Hall of Fame, I'm pretty sure.
No, he isn't.
Or he isn't? I'm thinking of a different.
Are you thinking of Ken Stabler?
I might be thinking of someone else. Never mind. Oh well.
Stabler is
Oh, he was a
in the Hall
finalist.
of Fame.
Finalist to the Hall of Fame. My mistake. Well, anyway. So the
Ken
point is,
Stabler
like,
is in the Hall of Fame.
there we go. So, like, Ken Anderson is like that borderline Hall of Famer with 2 All-Pros and losing to the 49ers dynasty, and like an MVP, right? Matt Ryan's a little bit better than that. I think he was a better player his entire career, but like he's like a Ken Anderson, right? Like him and Phil Rivers are there.
All right,
Like, it's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of like, are you actually elite, right? Like, are you actually great? Now, usually it's 1-to-1, but there's people in there that don't belong in there, Emma.
So what about Devin Hester?
Fuck no.
Wow.
Norris Cordero Patterson, like kick returners. I don't know. He'll probably get in eventually for his like special teams role, but I mean, special teamers are like whatever. As a receiver, he sucked ass. Like he had good.
Yeah. So you're talking about the special teamers, Matthew Slater.
Meh. Like I don't know. Are we gonna put every special teamer in there? I guess you put kickers in there, right? Like people have Hall of Fame kickers, so.
Justin Tucker should probably be a Hall of Famer.
I was gonna say like Tucker, like I don't know, Hall of Famer for kicker. I don't know, for special teams you have to be like a true standout, I guess. Like I would make the argument if you're going to put a Hall of Famer in, you need to be like actively scoring points or actively winning your team. Like special teams exist to make the offense better, basically, right? To provide for their offense as a support role, because that's the phase of the game. So the point I'm trying to make is, if your special teams are adding value above that as an individual player, then you should be Hall of Fame worthy. So you can make the argument. I would say you could make the argument Hester's a Hall of Famer. I wouldn't put him in personally, but whatever. For kickers, I wouldn't put like any fucking kicker in there, right? Like I'd put maybe Justin Tucker. Oh. That's about it. Because yeah, like maybe Vinatieri, right? Like and then a couple from back in the day, but
like Gary Anderson,
possibly. I guess.
Is it Gary Anderson or Morton Anderson?
I think it's Gary. I don't remember. I think it's Gary, yeah. But the point I'm trying to make, though, is are we also going to put punters in there?
No.
Right, because who gives a fuck about – but then again, it's like, well, that's special teams. That's, the same thing. It's like, okay, so are we going to put the best kickoff returner in there? We're going to put the best punt returner in there, the best kicker, the best punter. It's like, well, some positions are inherently not valuable.
The impact of a punter is only as much as their defense will allow. Cause like you could have a really good punter that can consistently pin guys like inside the 20, inside the 10, inside the 5, but your defense is just a turnstile.
Right, so you're fucked.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like if the number of drives that like you pin a team like inside their 10 or inside their 5 that turn into a 3 and out, then you can say, yeah, the punter had an impact.
It's also the Hall of Fame, right? It's like these players were popular in the way they played. They had a historicity. And usually that's because they're good, but sometimes it's because they were popular. It's basically more of a popularity contest than actually being good.
What about MVP?
Again, MVPs?
Yeah, what about MVP? Is that not a popularity contest too?
Oh yes, it is.
Or
and it's a quarterback award, by the way.
Yes.
It's literally just a quarterback award. Like I don't know, the MVP by like the most valuable player on any team is going to be their quarterback, because if your QB sucks, you're screwed, and if he's great, you're going to probably compete for the Super Bowl with a good enough team. So it's by the position, by positional value, it can only be logically the MVP or quarterback position, especially the way the game is played now. A running back can no longer win MVP. They're not valuable enough. A wide receiver cannot. An edge player cannot, right? And those are the only candidate positions, really.
What about a middle linebacker?
Absolutely fucking no. Never.
A middle linebacker.
Could never.
Aren't they like the quarterbacks of the defense back in the day?
Well, they are now. It's just they don't unless you're getting like 15 pick sixes a year. You know what I mean? Okay. Like you have to have an absurd season to even register. Like J.J. Watt's 2014 at edge, and he lost to Aaron Rodgers handily. So I don't know.
At least you have offensive and defensive player of the year.
I was about to say that's a more like standout at what was the best player on one side of the ball. And you can have like a Trent Richardson, or not Richardson, Christ almighty. He would never sniff anything. He'd, the inverse of an OPOY. That would be like Trent Williams, the tackle.
Oh, right? Yeah. Okay.
49ers tackle like 2 years ago, whatever. He had like one of the best tackle seasons ever recorded, period. Nobody gave a shit. Except like O-line nerds. And people who like watch film and shit. The general public barely even know who that guy is. So.
That sucks.
I know, right? Because he was like the best player on offense in football that year, and it was not particularly close. Then you got Aaron Donald, who's like MVP caliber. If you're gonna have like an edge player, he's interior, right?
Yeah. Shit record on the defense and at
he will. Right, he will never win. He will never even sniff MVP. Right, like Todd Gurley was getting more MVP hype in 2017, for instance, than fucking Aaron Donald, despite having an historic season. Like. Up there with like LT and shit. And JJ Watt and shit.
What about a guy like Fred Warner?
Not a chance. Never.
Fred Warner?
No chance. Linebackers, corners, nobody has a chance at MVP. Zero. No defender even anymore. Maybe an edge if you have like a cataclysmically absurd season where you get like 25 sacks, force fumbles, return a couple fumbles, return a pick six or two. Like you have to have an absolutely bonkers season to even register because it's a quarterback award, right? And naturally will be a quarterback award because the most valuable player on your team is the quarterback and they're paid like it now, right?
Fair enough. I mean, here's the thing, like Fred Warner seems like a very good all-around linebacker. Here's his 2023 stat line: 132 combined tackles, 82 solo, 50 assisted, 2.5 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. 11 pass deflections, 4 interceptions for 66 yards, and 4 forced fumbles. No touchdowns. So, I mean, looking at that alone, like, he's a well-rounded player.
Right.
He's not an elite at one thing, but he's definitely, like, a well-rounded player. You gotta expect him for that.
You do, but he's just never, that's not, his position at football is not MVP caliber. Like, linebacker cannot win, you cannot, almost guaranteed cannot have an impact on the game the same way a quarterback does. It's not possible.
Fair enough.
And I know that's like the MVP for these, right? It's not a good award objectively. It's the popularity contest. It's who the better and it's a narrative award. It really is. It's like this year, who won? Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Why? Because he had a good enough year. He was way better in 2019 IMO. He improved. He was on like one of the best teams that overperformed preseason expectations, and it was kind of a war of attrition between him and like Brock Purdy and fucking. I guess you threw Mahomes. Well, no, Mahomes had a bit of a down year. That's right.
Let's see. So here's the stat line. So he went 13-3, completes 67.2% of his passes, 3,678 yards passing. Also threw for 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And also rushed for 821 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. He took 37 sacks and lost 6 fumbles.
Yeah, so like he had a great year objectively, but he was like the reason. I don't know. He was the reason that the Ravens were in the playoffs. Obviously, that and their fucking sick ass defense this year. But the problem is, this year there was no like standout quarterback, and there was not really another standout player too. Some injuries happened and everything else. It was going to be a quarterback. It was going to be like Brock Purdy or whatever. But the reason Lamar won it is because all these candidates for MVP had shit games at the wrong time. Like Brock Purdy had a terrible fucking, I don't remember which loss it was.
Against the Ravens.
It was.
Are you talking about that 4-pick game?
Yeah, when he had 4 picks or whatever, he lost the MVP easily.
Yeah, that was the Ravens.
Right. Pat Mahomes did not have good stats this year, and then he was elite in the playoffs
He
again.
lost to the freaking Raiders.
Yeah, they got dominated by the Raiders, actually. And then he, goes out and, fucks up the 49ers again. So, I don't know, man. It's a narrative award. It's a quarterback award. That's what it's going to be. And
I do like Lamar Jackson, though. I like his playing style. I really do.
I'm going to have to – I guess we'll close on the Lamar debate here, but then I got to get going. Do you think that Lamar Jackson can win a Super Bowl for the Ravens?
Oof. So 2019 was a damn good shot. This year is probably this past year is probably also one of their best shots, especially with that defense.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next year, Justin VK is going to be back, so that's good. But you lose Patrick Queen. I think Roquan Smith is
hang on a minute. Let me interrupt you.
Yeah.
We're talking about team. I'm talking about can Lamar Jackson in, let's say, just a optimal-ish arrangement, a good enough team, like a playoff caliber team, can you put Lamar Jackson on that team and win a Super Bowl?
Playoff team? Like a playoff
good
caliber
coaching,
team?
good offense, good defense, good coaching, right? Good special teams, playoff caliber team. You put Lamar on that team, does he get you over the hump?
I mean, based on sheer talent, why not? I mean, he does things on the ground that force people to respect the things in his rushing game, which will open up some things, which can open up some things in the passing game. And as long as he can take advantage of that, why not?
Well, I'll tell you why not. Because he sucks ass in the playoffs. He has had 2 decent games in the playoffs. He had a really good game versus the Texans this year, which I bought the fuck into. And he had, what was it? It was the game prior to the Buffalo game in, I think, 2020. The year he wasn't injured, 2020. Titans game. So they beat the Titans by a few points on the road. And that was a declining Titans team. The rest of the time, he has wasted the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense in 2019 and 2023, respectively. He has collapsed massively accuracy-wise against a decent opponent. He doesn't scramble enough in the playoffs. They shut down the read option bullshit. And then it's just like he tries to win from the pocket exclusively. I don't get it, man. I like, the evidence is there to me that he is just, until he gets out of his head and is like, you are a running quarterback, you need to scramble more. Play to your strengths. Because Pat Mahomes, when he does in the playoffs, he runs. He saves like his entire fucking, ground game for the playoffs, and every game he's getting 30 to 60 yards in the playoffs when they cover all his options in man, right? And he's not a running quarterback. He's not a dual threat. He's a mobile guy. Lamar is the best running quarterback of all time, right? I think he's better than Vic. I'll put that in there, right there. And frankly,
he's a better passer than Vic.
And I think he is ultimately a better passer. But the problem is he stops scrambling at the worst time in the playoffs. He doesn't hit accurate throws outside the numbers. And this has been it's just been a disaster when he faces serious competition. He's sucked, right? Like three major, 2019, major L against the Titans, 2020, terrible against the Bills, horrible against the Bills. They scored 3 points in that game.
Yeah.
And then this year,
you have a shot.
This year, you get bodied at home, and it's the same fucking story. Like, you're not scrambling.
Best shots.
I know, right? And you had the number 1 defense in football by a landslide that actually played well on the road too.
In the game.
And you host the AFC Championship. So the point is, you have these advantages for Lamar, and he's choked every time. He sucks in the playoffs. He's had 2 good games. So the point is, I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with Lamar ever. But the pathway, it's a couple of corrections, right? And that's the thing is, in the playoffs, it's can you perform? Can you do this? It's a couple variables here and there, and that's it. But right now, I don't think you can.
Oh, we'll see. I mean, he definitely has the talent to do it. And that's why I like him so much, because he is Michael Vick. Just as long as he doesn't get into the dogfighting, which he won't, because he's got a restaurant to tend to, and blessings in a backpack. So he's on a good path. So I'm not worried about the dogfighting shit.
Easy.
I don't know.
All right. Well, I got to get out of here, guys. I got something I got to do in just about 30 minutes here, but enjoyed the conversation as usual. Sorry, Daniel, that we took all your podcast time, or at least I did, for some repeat, some weird shit.
No, that was so much fun. Thanks for having us, Daniel.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on, guys.
All right. Take care, everybody.